Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting on the Ranch. Today we're going to be building this study station. So stick around to find out how we did it.
We are a family of 5 living on a ranch in Texas.
On our channel, we will cover a variety of topics. These are solely based on our experience and opinions, and we do not hold any degrees in childhood development or education.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting on the Ranch. My name is Curtis.
I'm Jessica.
And today, like I said, we're going to be building this study station slash buffet slash dessert station slash clothes folding station slash jack of all trades station. So before we get into that though, please make sure you click on the subscribe button down in the bottom right hand corner, as well as the bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos. So why do we want to do this?
Well, we just got tired of, basically it's for the kids' homework area, because we got tired of having to do homework as soon as they got home, and in the midst of dinner having to pick it all up just to get it all back out. So they could sit over here and we could just move a chair from the dining room table to over here. It is in our kitchen, so they're pretty close net, but it is also opposite the TV. So with them over here and they're back from the TV, because at the table they're always staring at the TV, whether it's on or whether it's off. So with them over here and they're back to it, they can kind of concentrate and not get distracted by everybody else.
So yeah, we had a relatively easy way to do it, and really honestly pretty cheap as well. I think altogether it was maybe $250 or so, so it really wasn't that expensive. But we got some good deals on the countertop, and we're able to do everything else on our own, so yeah, that made it a little bit cheaper. So let's get into how we did it and what it all entailed.
Alright, so first thing that you really need to do whenever you're doing this is, we got this cabinet. It's called a nude cabinet. And basically what that means is that there's no finish on it whatsoever. So first thing you really should do is get a rag, just a dry rag, maybe even a slightly damp one, and wipe it all down to make sure there's no cobwebs or any dust or anything like that on it. After that, you can paint to your heart's content. This color that we're using is called Cowboy Boot Brown. It's what we used on the wall back behind it. It's what is used on the trim, and it's used in other places throughout our house. We have a dark brown and a light brown colors in our house that we've done. So my wife simply painted the cabinet. The girls got to help as well as Gage. Got to put their hand into this, so you can use this as well as a kind of a mixture or a way to do things with your kids also. Just make sure that you do it under close supervision and you should be good. So after she got the cabinet all painted, it was time to move on to the doors. When you're doing this, make sure you can start on the outside, you can start on the inside, whichever is easiest for you. We like starting on the inside so that we don't actually put our hand or arm down onto the paint, and it also tends to make it maybe a little bit easier. But make sure you get around the edges really good. Make sure you get around all the trim work really good. And of course we have our helper here who really likes to photobomb in all these projects and videos that we make. But simply get a good coat of paint on there. It might take 2 coats of paint on there since it is a nude wood. It's going to really soak in the wood, the paint. So either do a really heavy coat or do 2 coats of paint. Alright, so now that she's done with this, now I'm home from work. She did all this while I was at work. So we cut what's called a ledger board, and this is going to go along the wall. We simply made sure that it got the height that we needed, which I believe was 36.5 inches to where the countertop will set right. Simply screwed it into the stud. We got our sign hung up before we put the countertop on. And then these pieces here are going to go out the depth of the board, a little less than the depth of the board, and simply level them and screw them into the wall itself. I did put a 45-degree angle on them so they wouldn't be a blunt-nosed piece of wood sticking out when you're looking in from the front. On this side, I actually had to screw to the countertop, or to the cabinet rather, so I got my wife to help me with this. I simply put it down halfway down the board, made sure it was level, put a couple holes in it, and screwed it in from the cabinet side. Now we have to do a second lengthwise piece to put along the front of it, and what I did here, simply cut it to length and put 2 pocket holes on each end of it that we'll use to screw into the wings that you just saw me put on. So here we are, making sure it's even on top, make sure it's level, which I didn't, or even rather, front to back, which I didn't there, so I had to take it off and put it back on. After that was on, we simply put the doors back on. Really easy to do. They like latch onto the edge of the cabinet, and just line it up to where it's even top and bottom, and where it's level, it makes it really easy to do it where it's level with that little latching system. So we got those on, and it was time to move on to the countertop. Now the countertop, we did have to cut the depth of it, which made it really nice because we had the backer thing there to go off of.
So we are working on the countertop for our new study slash homework area, or study slash breakfast area, something like that. We've got the countertop. It was a little wide and it had the black backsplash on it, so we decided to cut it off anyways because it was too wide. So what we did is we took some masking tape, taped off where we were going to cut it at. This way, whenever we're cutting it, the tape will hold the Formica onto the board and it won't kick it up. You can also cut it upside down, which works as well, but this way it worked out just right where the backsplash we could use as a straight edge to make sure that the back edge was straight. So we got this taped off, we cut it to widthwise, got it cut all the way down, and then down here at the end where we're going to cut off the length of it, we put tape down and marked our measurement, and then we used our T-square to make sure that we cut the line, or the back was square and the line is square. We did a great job. So now I'm going to cut this end off, and then we're going to take it inside and mount it to the framework that we did yesterday.
So one piece of advice, and it didn't really dawn on me until I actually went and bought the countertop. I wrangled this. It's 8 foot long. I wrangled it. It is heavy. I wrangled it onto the little dolly at Lowe's. We could put a link of this specific countertop on there. But one thing that I noticed is that the corner was chipped off. Now, granted, we're cutting a good, 12 inches off. So I knew I wouldn't need this portion of countertop. Now, this particular countertop costs, I believe, $96 at Lowe's. But because it was damaged, I contacted the manager there that night and simply asked him, I like this product. I see that this one's damaged. Is there any possibility that I could get a discount for it? And he said, are you sure this is the one you want? Is it more than I'm assuming it's more than you need us, so I'm going to cut it off anyways. So he just said, he looked on his phone and gave it to me for $60. That's a $36 savings right there. Since I'm putting a lot into this project we are putting a lot into this project to make it good for our kids, I mean, that was a good bonus for me. And he asked me if I would take it. I said sold, and we worked it out at the register. So we got a $36 savings just because it was already damaged. I wanted it anyway, so it worked out. So just keep that in mind whenever you find something that's damaged at Lowe's or Home Depot, wherever you go. Maybe they can give you a discount because it's damaged. So keep that in mind.
Alright, so once you go to actually cut this, just make sure that you go nice and slow. Take your time. There's no real reason to rush on this. The more you rush on it, the more it's going to pull up the Formica and get a kind of a incorrect cut. So just take your time and go easy on it.
Okay, so one thing, if you get a countertop that is real hard to find, or like this one was the last one and we don't know if they're going to make anymore, if this end of it was exposed, you can actually take this and peel off some of the laminate that's on here, get some contact cement, put it on this and put it on the back of this after you clean off the glue that's already there, and then take a trim router and trim it off, and then a small file and file it. But since this is going up against a countertop on both sides for us, we don't have to worry about it. But this cutoff piece is real good for a little patchwork or something like that that you need, or an end cap or something like that. Or keep it for later in case something happens. You can also keep this piece to take to wherever you got it from or someplace else to try and match it in case you need some another piece. So now my beautiful assistant here just takes the tape off of the edge of it. We're going to check the edge to make sure that none of the formica peeled up at all.
And I want to go slow and pull it at like a 45. That way I'm not ripping it the opposite way of the formica, just in case it did come unglued.
And after all the tape is off, we'll go and press really, really good along the edges to make sure that it does stay down.
All right, so now that we got the countertop cut and laid down, we're simply we got some I believe it's 1 inch or maybe 1.5 inch L brackets, and we're putting one screw into the countertop. Just make sure that you don't go through it all the way. I believe we used 1 inch screws for this, so they didn't go up to the top, and then simply put one screw into the 2x4 to hold it down. This allows it to where the kids won't be able to pull it up or anything like that. And it also, with this centerpiece, it made it where it's pretty steady. I don't think that we're going to have to put any kind of support going down to the wall in the center of this. We might end up doing it, I'm not sure, but as it looks like right now, it doesn't look like we're going to have to do any kind of extra support on there. Now, granted, when they get older, they probably won't be able to sit on it or anything like that, but it'll be nice for just doing homework and things along those lines. Alright, so last thing we had to do was put the trim work on there. We got a little bit left to do. As you can see, these aren't painted. We are going to paint them the cowboy boot brown as well. We do have some of them that were already painted, so we put the two end pieces on there are already painted. And you can cut this stuff. This is it's like a plastic material, I believe, that you can get from Lowe's. They're like $1.50 a piece, something like that. You can cut them with garden shears, and it does a really nice job on cutting it. Makes it a whole lot easier.
So we are finally done with the homework station / center. The whole idea behind this area is in our dining room. It's on the side of the dining room. So the whole idea behind this was we really got tired of the kids wanting to color, but we had to eat and they didn't want to pick it up. Or we were doing a project and we just needed the table for meals or whatever. So with this area, we can have their coloring out and we can simply move from here to the table, eat, and come right back to it. We have a couple of pieces to finish, like trim, painting, but all in all, it's done. It's here, it's functional, and they can use it. So we're going to use the cabinet. It's basically two doors, the top and then the big one on the bottom. We're going to put their coloring books, pens, pencils, things like that in there so they can easily access that, and then it's kind of out of sight because it used to be on the counter and that wasn't my forte.
I think all in all, it really turned out great. I wish we could have got a matching thing to this area over here, but unfortunately they didn't make this anymore. And I think if I had to do it over again, I would have lowered it a little bit. It was kind of a catch-22. You know, do you keep it even with this over here, or do you have the countertop a little bit higher than what it should be for a regular chair? So you kind of.
Well, Raven's 6, and she's pretty tall. But she needs like a good 5 inches cushion in the chair for it to be functional for her. But the thing is, though, we put it even with the other countertop for like aesthetic appeal. But too, the kids will grow into it. I prefer to put it a little high and then have to sit on a pillow, as opposed to them outgrowing it in 6 months. And then what do? You
Yeah.
have to take it all apart and do it again. So I think it looks good. And the good thing too about this being in our dining room, we have that area over there, and it's 4 foot, like buffet kind of thing. But we can also use this for when we have parties or family over, whatever we can, because we have a bar. It's pretty big, but we can like set out the desserts or whatever with it being in the dining room. So
It's kind of multifunctional.
Yeah. So I mean, all in all, I think the countertop was $60, right? We got it on discount because it was broken, which you saw earlier. But $60 for that. The cabinet was $100, I think. And it was just a basic unfinished cabinet. I mean, it didn't even come in a box. So I think it was like $100. So really and then your wood and trim and stuff. So really for $200, we have a homework area, project area, dessert area. So I mean, it is multifunctional, and it was relatively cheap. So.
And it's gonna work for what we need it to work for.
Yeah.
So, let us know in the comments below what you thought about this whole process. If you have any questions, leave those as well. We'll do our best to answer them. We do read every comment that y'all post and try to respond back as well. We want to thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, as well as clicking the bell icon down the bottom so you don't miss any of the videos that we have. We do have a video that comes out every Friday that's a topical video, and kind of a mosh podge on Tuesdays with a random bonus video spread throughout different times. So until next time, y'all, we thank you again for watching, and
Happy parenting.